Okay, welcome to a special episode of the Back in Time podcast. We've just wrapped with our guest this week, Stu Stone, which we're going to get into a minute. But let me bring in my co-host, JD. JD, how you doing tonight, man?
Fan-effing-tastic. I can't express how excited I am about this episode tonight. You know, mad props to you for linking up to Jack of All Trades, the documentary that just recently hit, and for bringing Stu Stone on to chat with us about both his career and this amazing documentary that he put out.
Yeah, we get into a lot of stuff into the documentary. I do think this is worth renting and supporting, and we're going to talk about this a lot during the podcast, but I mean, they're a small company. Like, everything you can do as far as like a retweet, a like, giving them a 5-star rating on iTunes for the movie, like anything like that helps small filmmakers. So, you know, check it out, you know, give the rating. But I mean, JD, what's one thing that you were like shocked to learn about?
It was, for me, fantastic to talk to somebody that was actually involved in Donnie Darko, which is one of my all-time favorite films. But at the same time, to realize and to have a conversation with Stu about just how down-to-earth he is. And it was so like refreshing to hear his experiences and what he went through leading up to making this documentary, which I think resonated with both of us.
Definitely did. Well, hey man, let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the interview and let's bring in our guest, Stu Stone. We have a special guest on the podcast today. He is an actor with 90 credits to his resume. He is the co-director, writer, producer, and star of the documentary titled Jack of All Trades, which is streaming right now on iTunes and many other streaming sites. Welcome to the show, Stu. How you doing, man?
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Quite an introduction there. 90. Yeah, that's a lot. I didn't realize there was 90.
That's what it says on IMDb.
I gotta get 10 more real quick.
Is there something special you get from SAG if you hit 100 credits on IMDb? Is that a thing?
I think you get a jacket.
There you go.
Like a windbreaker. It's not like, you know, not like a fancy golf jacket or anything like that, or a sports coat. Like just something just light enough to break some wind.
Yeah, you keep your insurance and get a windbreaker. There you go.
Yes.
Love it. So you said you're out in Toronto now. So what do you do now in Toronto? Is that new home base for you, or?
Hold on a minute. I mean, because I know predominantly you are, you know, you like to consider yourself to be a film aficionado.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, right? And when it comes to old school films, your sweet spot is like
80s, 90s.
90s. Yeah, same as mine. Same as like all, you know, people of our generation. But of those 90 credits, have you ever reviewed or discussed any of those credits on any of your previous episodes?
Not yet. Although Donnie Darko is on the list.
Yes, okay. All right, just making sure.
And you were in Sorority Boys, correct?
I don't know if I actually was in the final cut of the film, but I definitely shot scenes for the movie.
You shot Sorority Boys. That's a fantastic movie in my opinion that will be on the podcast at one point as well. So
Michael Rosenbaum, who is in that movie, you know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
He's also Lex Luthor in the Smallville series. He was also in a movie. I did another movie with him, Kicking It, which is like this breakdown comedy movie. But he was like the lead heel bad guy in it, and he played it like an 80s, 90s bad guy. It was really funny. I'm underrated. I mean, his performance is underrated. He's really funny in that. But anyway, yes, Michael Rosenbaum.
Well, let's get into the documentary a little bit. So I just kind of stumbled across this about a week ago. I was actually on Amazon Prime. I just typed in baseball documentary. I'm like, there's got to be something out there. And I watched the trailer and then immediately just got right onto iTunes and rented the movie, watched the whole thing straight through. Man, first off, congrats. I think it's amazing. You guys do an awesome job. But I guess my question here is, how did you decide that this was the right documentary to make right now for you?
Well, I mean, it's sort of like decided itself, to be honest. It's like the whole thing sort of organically sort of unfolded, and we all just got like taken for this ride that none of us really planned on. I would say my main thing was that in real life, when I was a kid, my family was in the baseball card business.
Yeah.
My dad ran baseball card shops. So like in the height of like kids collecting baseball cards, like my family ran like 11 stores, and I had like the craziest baseball card fucking collect. Like everything in my life was baseball cards. You can only imagine.
Me as well, actually. I'm in the same exact boat. Owned a business as well.
Okay, well then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So then right before, I guess it would have been in like 91, right before the baseball strike, and the market kind of crashed a little bit, I guess you would say. The bubble kind of burst. My dad got out of the business, and then I sort of lost touch with the business. And 20 years, 25 years later, whatever it's been, when my grandfather passed away, in real life, my grandfather passed away, and in his basement, they found all these boxes that had my name on them.
Okay.
And so they wanted to get rid of these boxes, and so I was like, no, can't get rid of these boxes, because I know that as a kid, I had the fucking best collection of shit you can imagine. I know I was like a pack rat. I had like I collected everything. Like I literally collected everything. Mm-hmm. So God knows what's inside these boxes, but I was so psyched about opening these boxes that I told my mom, like, listen, I'm gonna come and open the boxes, and I'm gonna go through the boxes. I'm gonna film it. So she agreed to put them in her condo, and like years went by, and finally I surprised her and like convinced. We ended up getting people interested, so we like got a camera crew and family and friends, and I was like, okay, let's film opening these boxes, because I had a hunch that I'll open these boxes and there'll be gold inside. And also tying back to my dad, back when he was a kid, and I guess not a kid, but back when he was like in his like 30s and 40s or whatever, he went back to his childhood home and found his box. And in his box, he had like the Superman comic, Superman #1.
Oh, wow.
And he had Mickey Mantle cards, and he had just crazy shit that ended up, getting him totally, like, changing his life. It was like a life-changing discovery when he found all that crap, which is not crap, obviously. It's like
not those Mantles. Heck no.
Superman.
Most people throwing that in the garbage, though, and like in the 60s and 70s, they're like throwing that out when the kid moves out, right?
Right.
His mom happened to be, not to really bring this into it, but his parents were Holocaust survivors. And when they came over to America, like they didn't throw anything out. Okay, like, it's like everything is worth something to them. So they didn't throw out any of his stuff. So he ended up finding all this stuff. So I thought, oh, this could be really cool. Now I'm that age. I could go through my boxes and we're going to find great stuff, and it's going to be the best. And, I'm going to find Superman #1 type shit. And so you end up going there and you open up the boxes, and, sure enough, like my collection is there. And it's like the Mattingleys and the Darryl Strawberries and Ken Griffey Jr. and Billy Ripken with the fuck face on, everything. It's like 87 top sets, and just like, wow. I had like other, it took me hours to go through these boxes, and in the movie, it's like an edited movie, so you only see what you see, but you should see some of the shit that was in these boxes.
I would love to.
It was insane what I was pulling out of these boxes.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, let's go sell the fucking cards. It's like a really cool piece that could be like about baseball cards.
Yeah.
And so when I kind of realized what had happened to the prices, and I was thinking about things like Bitcoin and other stuff that's going on in the world, and I was like, holy fuck, there's like a bubble here, and like and someone knows something about it. Like, we should totally do this. Like, I was a collector. Everybody loved cards. I'm sure people would love to learn about what happened to cards. It's like everybody kind of like loved cards, and then everybody didn't love cards. Like, people started smoking weed and like meeting girls or whatever. I don't know, but they just stopped collecting cards. And the baseball strike didn't help. And for whatever reason, it just stopped, right?
Yeah.
Well, now as an adult, we can like go back and look at this childhood hobby and kind of see what happened. And that's sort of what initially was the idea behind this film, was to go and meet the players and meet the companies and what happened and who happened, and a lot happened. And
Yes.
along the way, it came to be, it was presented to me that, the person who I should really talk to about baseball cards, in like the way that it was sort of positioned to me, was, maybe get together with my father, who I hadn't spoken to in a very long time, and talk to him about the cards, and maybe something would come of that. So the movie sort of goes in that direction. It gets a little wild. It's pretty heavy there, actually, for a baseball card movie. But I can tell you that my intentions were always to make a movie about baseball cards, and I had to know subconsciously that like my dad was going to come up somewhere or another. But the way that it unfolded is pretty wild, and it's life-changing for me. So in a way, when he opened up his boxes, it was life-changing for him, and same thing for me in a completely different way. In the box of cards I'm talking so much here. You guys asked me one question. I'm like talking for 50 minutes. But that's my time, guys. I got to go. No, but anyway, in that box, I just know that you watch the movie, so that's why I'm like excited to talk to you about this, because like it's not like a million people have watched the movie and I can like talk about this to people. So this is kind of exciting to talk to you about this for me anyway. In that box, I found my bar mitzvah video. And that's a video, for those of you who don't know what a bar mitzvah is, it's like a Jewish quinceañera.
Right.
It's a Jewish christening or whatever. Like, it's just a party. The kid turns 13. You get a bunch of envelopes. It's like a party. I hadn't watched this video ever, because after my bar mitzvah happened, my parents got divorced, and then and like my mom she wouldn't want to watch that video, so she throw it away. So that video ends up being the whole craziest part of this whole thing, because I didn't realize that we didn't see that. I didn't even realize I had that bar mitzvah tape till after I did the first cut of this movie.
Oh, wow.
The movie was 22 minutes longer, and it had way more baseball card stuff in it. But once we filmed this bar mitzvah video and put it in and saw what we saw in it, it was shocking to me, and it changed the whole scope of the film and what you see now.
Yeah,
and
that's a game changer for sure.
It like took the movie to like a whole other surreal level. It's just like, it's crazy. Just even the trailer, when you watch the trailer and like the way that it's the way that it's cut with like the last little bit from the bar mitzvah video, that it's just insane. It's just insane. So the movie is out now. You have streamed it. I appreciate you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that I hope more people do, but you don't make a documentary to like get rich.
Right.
You do a documentary because you like love making movies, or it's like there's got to be love behind it, because no fucking sane person would make a documentary to think, it's not, they're not making money. These are real storytellers are doing these kind of movies. And I have always loved documentaries, and it was just, I wanted to make my own about baseball cards, and it turned into this whole other thing. And I'm telling you, it's like the film gods, people who say that there's one god you should believe in, it would be the film gods, because it's like they know you're making a movie, and they know it's just crazy how things just unfold without, you couldn't even write it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just wild.
There's so many questions I have to ask, but one of the reasons I had to reach out was like every part of this story I had some type of connection to. Like you mentioned your dad owning stores. Like my dad owned a store called the 10th Inning. My uncle took it over. He had 7 different locations all over the Midwest. And then he passed away in 2000, and all the cards went to my grandma's basement. And then in the last 2 years, she's like, "Hey, I want this stuff out of here.
Yeah,
you need to come over here. It's on these pallets." And I'm telling you, there are cases and cases and cases. I've been going through it for the last year. I'm still not done. Every time I go home, I come back with a whole nother trunk of cards.
Yeah, don't do what I did with my collection. But,
yeah, I haven't lit them on fire.
But I'm trying to make them rare so that yours will be worth something.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the things that I think this might even surprise you, JD, because I know you collected cards back in the day, but that period of time now is called the junk wax period.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's called that, and I found that out after the fact too. You can imagine I did this whole documentary, never once did anybody call it that to me, so I found that out after the fact, and I was a little disappointed. I kind of get it now, but it's sort of like you junk wax. It's the wax era. Take the word junk out of there, and it should just be known as like the wax era, because these kids don't know about wax. And this is like the new vinyl. Wax is the new vinyl, and I'm becoming like a wax addict myself. Since I started this movie, I've started my collection kind of over again.
Me too.
And I've become just wax packs from that certain era, and I'm just like a wax head.
Dude, I literally got a box of 92, 93 Skybox basketball cards today that I bought off of eBay and opened up, and I pulled 3 Shaq rookie cards. I was like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, this is fucking awesome.
Shaq rookies, man. I mean, there's a dopamine hit when you pull a card out of a pack. If I was to open a box of 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards right now, I would lose my mind. I would love it. It would be the best. It would be like better than any drug. Opening up a box of 89 Upper Deck and pulling a Ken Griffey Jr. out of a pack. I mean, get the fuck out of here. There's nothing better. There's not a better feeling than that. So this movie takes you back to that feeling. This movie's like, it gives you that feeling of pulling a Mark McGwire rookie card out of a pack.
I agree 100%. I actually have 2 factory sets of 89 Upper Decks about 5 feet from me right now with a Griffey rookie card sitting on top.
I mean, that's the best. That's literally, that is the best.
They're worth like $40. We thought they'd be worth like $4,000 by now. But
I think that you never know. Listen, something is worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. So if we could do a better job of marketing 89 Upper Deck, we could sell it for a lot more.
There you go.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's worth whatever we say it's worth.
So, JD, I want you to chime in here, man. What did you collect back in the day? What kind of cards were you into?
So for us, when we collected cards, we called them franchises.
Okay.
And you would collect a franchise of a specific player, and you would collect as many of that specific player as you could and put them in separate books. So I had a Mark McGwire franchise, a Sammy Sosa franchise, Ken Griffey Jr., Cal Ripken. Those were my main jams. Baseball cards and football cards were my second place, and then basketball third place. But, you know, as you guys both said, like my dad collected baseball cards back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, but he was an asshole, and he used to glue them to poster boards.
Ooh. Oh, no.
So literally, like, the only thing that I've got as a memory from my dad is these really nice, expensive, rare baseball cards that have glue spots on the back of them, like Roberto Clemente, and just
that's rough.
Yeah, and he was that kind of kid back in the day. Like, he was the kind of kid that would put them between the bicycle spokes and then make the noise.
You don't want to be doing that with a Clemente.
Ooh. No, and I still have that, and Gaylord Perry, and like so many other like good, great classic cards that are just defaced because this old asshole decided to be a young asshole.
Yeah, and Stu, you and JD have a lot in common in the fact that you said your dad took off in '91, and it was years. JD went. I know I don't want to dig too deep in here, JD, but I know it's been a while.
Yeah, I want to say my dad took off in '91 as well.
Wow. It was a good year. It was a good year.
It was a good year for dads going out for the Christmas milk and never coming home.
Yeah, well, that's why we don't drink milk anymore, you know? You know, listen, man, you'd be surprised, buddy, because it's like a phenomenon of our generation. That's like, that should be the next documentary, because how many people have I spoken to that can relate to the story because of the same situation? There's so many of us, and just that niche audience of just that people is a bigger audience than you think. That's all I'm saying, man. It's like any problem, doing a movie like this makes me realize that any problem that I thought I had, like, is so common. Everybody has the same fucking problems. Everybody's got shit. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's got shit. Everybody you run into in your life has their own thing that they're dealing with. And there is no unique problem. So I don't know what I'm getting at here. There's no like epiphany kind of crazy moment that's about to happen. But
but you're speaking absolute truth, and I think at least from you're a producer, a director, a writer. You've done everything from acting to voicing. everything that the arts sort of convey, and
Including
it's
being-
so true.
including being abandoned by my father. Yeah, that as well. We can add that to the res.
Hey, why not?
Is this a therapy session?
Hey, guys,
Hey,
sit
I
down on
think
my
that's
couch. lay
podcast
down.
101.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, listen. It's just my point is that it's not that uncommon. It should be crazy that me and him, we've never talked before. Both of us went through the exact same thing, the exact same time. There's probably thousands of people that are exactly like us. Is my point, and you'd be surprised how common it was. So it sucks, but it is what it is.
It is, and it's telling of the times as well. 1991 was a hell of a year.
Well, I think like the 80s were probably such, not to like, just to break it down, the 80s were so big for so many reasons, and I don't think my dad was into drugs or anything like that, but I know that like Coke was huge in the 80s, and money in Wall Street, and fucking the Republicans and money, and everybody was doing great, and the invention of the VHS home thing created whole new millionaires as people opened video stores, and everyone was making money. Baseball card guys came in making money. Coke was doing so good they made new Coke. Yeah.
Coke too.
No, I could say the same thing, but my dad was big into coke and heroin and other women. So
Drugs going on in the 80s for sure. And I'm saying like by the time the 90s hits, it's like the party's over, and a lot of these guys just fucking hit the bricks, I guess. You know, they didn't stick around for the down times, I suppose. But that's what moms are for. And it worked out the way that it did. And listen, I went through what I went through, and if I didn't go through that, then we wouldn't be talking right now, as crazy as that sounds.
amen.
Wouldn't have made that movie, and we wouldn't be speaking.
So, Stu, when you see your dad, I don't want to give away too much because I want people to actually watch the movie. How long had it been since you had actually talked to your dad?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I have never in my life talked to my father about, like, in that manner.
Yeah.
Where I have had, it's insane, you know, and I'll say that, you know, I guess that's like an 11-minute sequence, I think. It might be longer. Yeah. The scene you're speaking of that is a crazy fucking thing. You know, the same is in the same way that when I went with Jose Canseco or Foul Ball Paul or whoever, the guys at Tops, I was actually with them for like hours, and you're only seeing like an edited 15-minute piece that's like the best way to sort of convey what we could even, you know, I could have done a 2-hour movie of just me, just that one scene. There's that much in it, and there's so much that didn't make it into the final thing because, you know, you can only do so much. If I didn't have cameras rolling and I wasn't shooting this documentary, I don't know that would have ever happened. Even if I would have seen him, we would have never had this conversation, if that makes any sense.
No, it totally does.
It was a transformational type of moment that had never happened and was long overdue. And that's all I can say. And and unfortunately, you know, life hasn't really changed much since then.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. I mean,
is that carried over at all?
I mean, nothing has changed.
Yeah, that sucks.
It is what it is, and it's sad. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And for people listening to this and don't have any context to what the hell we're talking about, they should watch Jack of All Trades.
I agree. Go on the iTunes, get out your little credit card and pay $4 and rent the movie, or buy it for $10.
Those of you that are still listening and made it past us nerding out over baseball cards, this is like that shows you that it's not just a baseball card movie. There's a lot of human depth to it, and it's a real family life kind of story that you don't need to know anything about baseball cards to get something out of this. So hopefully people will discover it, and it'll be one of those like word of mouth kind of situations, because obviously we're a small film. We're not a huge company, and any attention that we can get for the movie is huge for us. And, you know, being on any sort of like pop culture type platforms, like, you know, you guys have this show here. This is big for us. You know, we want to get out there and spread the word, and it's really cool to be able to talk to guys about the movie and filmmaking and get a little love for some of the indie guys. And we're the indie darlings.
I love it, man. Now, what is the ultimate goal with the movie? Is it to stay where it's currently at and just hopefully rent the crap out of it? Is it to get onto a bigger platform like Netflix or Amazon Prime and make it streamable?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it's really tough. It's tough, man. It's not the same. To give you some insight, back even 5, 6, 7 years ago, Netflix was begging people to put their shit on Netflix, and they were paying big bucks, rocking and rolling. It was like, come on, come on, come on. Well, the game has changed, and now like everybody wants to be on Netflix, and it's like a completely different market. So, Netflix is making these Netflix originals, and they're spending millions of dollars on content, right?
Yeah.
So it's like we're not even swimming in there, fucking in the same fish tank. Our goal is to like make noise so that companies like Netflix take notice, and that's how movies like ours would end up on Netflix. Not that we don't deserve to be on there. It's just like if our movie was a Netflix movie, they would have paid for it, and it would have been Griffey Jr. would be in the movie.
Yeah, he'd be holding the photo of himself,
right?
Not the guy that took it.
It'd be a different fucking movie. It wasn't that, and it is what it is. So it's like we're an indie record that needs to get some attention, so that and then sometimes Vince McMahon signs the big indie wrestler. So like maybe we'll get maybe that's what will happen. But either way, it's definitely been a good look for us. And my brother-in-law and I we have our company 5-7 Films. Things have been going fortunately really well for us, and we're definitely getting a lot of love from a lot of people because of this movie, and I think it's going to help us for sure. We have more stories to tell, believe me. We're just getting started.
So what do you have that is possibly coming up right now that you can talk about or promote with 5-7 Films?
Well, we have a couple of horror movies right now that are out, and they are like popcorn type of horror movies. One is called Scarecrows. One is called The Haunted House on Kirby Road. They're I want to say that they're like stoner horror movies. And they're not like snuff films or anything like that. They're the type of movie that like teenagers can watch, and like hopefully they're like hooking up with each other before the movie ends. They don't even know how.
We just covered Idle Hands on here 2 weeks ago.
So that's my boy, but
there you go.
I was on the set of Idle Hands, and
no
for Idle Hands. So Devin Sawa, that's my boy. That's one of my best friends. The guy that's the lead in Idle Hands. I'm the godfather to his kid. Okay, this is my boy.
That's awesome.
Jeez, he's Devin Sawa's. We are planning a top 5 Devin Sawa film podcast coming up soon.
That's easy.
I know. That's why we're doing it.
Idle Hands is not number 1.
Jeez, I don't know. He's got some really good ones. I also
Casper?
really love Little Giants too.
Well, yeah, Little Giants. That's good. That's number 1.
Yeah, it'll be a fun episode to just talk about him.
Junior Floyd.
Junior Floyd.
Stud.
Yep, he had an arm, man. He could really sling that toilet paper.
Dude, what's the girl's name? The Icebox.
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 I love that movie.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about your career because like we talked about, you've been in 90 different movies or TV shows. So, give me like what's your favorite experience as an actor to date?
I mean, what kind of an asshole would I be if I wasn't like Donnie Darko? Of course, like it's the best. It's like Donnie Darko is the best, and if you're in Donnie Darko, it's the best, and it's like ultimate film cred, mic drop. Like, oh, what were you in? And these people all are in some great shit, and then they're like, oh, there's Stu. He's in Donnie Darko. I'm in. It's like it's like a blessing. It was such a cool experience. It was just so fucking cool, man. Everybody, we were all kids. The director was fresh out of film school. It was like summer, LA, Long Beach. Can't go wrong, man. That was a great experience. Patrick Swayze, Jake Gyllenhaal, Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's first movie, I think it was.
Oh, that's right. Seth Rogen was in that. He's such a badass bully.
Dude, me and him were boys. Like,
yeah,
that was a summer right there, man. I'll tell you what, we have a lot in common. That me and him. Put it out.
Just a couple Canadian boys trying to make it big in Donnie Darko,
right? And obviously had a great career, and he's the man, so he deserves it.
Donnie Darko is such a unique yet so divided movie from its fan base. do you enjoy the fact that you were one in it and then two like get to partake in the legacy that Kelly created?
You want to talk about a perfect storm? Donnie Darko was the perfect storm. I mean, everything had to happen the way that it happened in order for it to happen. And that's so profound because that is sort of like the whole basis of the entire film. This is the first time I've really broken it down like this before. So you guys are getting a real good Donnie Darko exclusive soundbite.
Woo woo.
Big one, man. You know, it's like the movie came out, I believe, in the theater the week after 9/11. And it was about, in our movie, it's about a plane engine falling through a fucking house. So that didn't play very well at that point. And the movie actually bombed and made like $1 at the box office. I think it actually made like $100,000 at the box office opening weekend. And it was a complete dud. And it was such a disappointment because even dating back to the Sundance screening, like the projector broke down in the middle of the performance, in the middle of the movie. Like there's just so many things that happened. The movie ends up getting picked up by Fox and they put it out on DVD. And it happened to be the same year that like Best Buy was like selling like DVD players for like, they started selling them for like, $30, 40, like, they were cheap now, right? And every college kid could afford a DVD player in their dorm room, not to mention their laptops came with DVD players. So DVDs were like huge. And Donnie Darko came out at the right time because they sold like $20 million or something worth of DVDs. And the movie blew up word of mouth organically from college kids watching this weird movie, right? And loving it. And the movie ends up getting re-released in theaters 2 years later. And it comes out in theaters, a whole other version of it. So we got to do it twice. And then that version came out on DVD. So you actually had like this same movie getting milked like over a 5-6 year period, like 20 times. So I think that kind of helped the movie like sustain this sort of like cult like, live up to its stature. There's so many fascinating things about it and in it. And the performance, Jake Gyllenhaal's really good in it. It is a weird movie. It's a weird fucking movie. A lot of comedy in the darkness. And that's what I dig about it. And there's a lot of good the actors in it are being themselves in a lot of ways. I mean, I know I was just being myself. But Jake Gyllenhaal, I haven't hung out with him in a very long time, obviously, but I definitely spent that summer with him, and either he was walking around in character all the time, or like that's him. It's like he's
just
like,
a weird man.
Not really weird. He's just like very much like higher intelligence level. He's a guy that I would say has like a high IQ, very well read guy.
I'm just expecting you to start quoting the Smurfs part from Donnie Darko right now.
That's what I'm saying. When Donnie Darko talks like that, it's like I feel like Jake talks like that. and I feel like, I talk like I talk. Everybody, I don't even know what I'm saying. But it was a magical time. It was a great experience. And I think, if people don't like the movie, you still, you watched it. So that's all that matters. It's a good movie. I like it. I watched it for the first time in a long time. It was like the 15th anniversary last year. So there was a screening in Toronto, and I went out and did like a Q&A at this screening. And it was my first time seeing the movie in a long time, especially on the big screen like that. And it totally brought back like insane memories and feelings and just thinking about it was a real trip. And to see it still like 15 years later, a packed house of people, it was really, really cool. And it just goes to show you that it can happen so if a movie like Jack of All Trades, I mean, we don't have like the DVD lightning in a bottle thing happening, but hopefully people are looking at our little thumbnail on iTunes and are like, hey, is that like a Topps baseball pack or a pack of baseball cards? Maybe they'll be like, what is this? And then they'll look at it and then they'll watch it and they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their friends and they'll tell their friends. And hopefully we can make enough noise that like the big boys will be like, hey, we want this. What else you guys got? What else are you guys doing?
Yes, that's the way the system works. You're absolutely right. That's so freaking cool. So I need to nerd out with you for one more Donnie Darko question.
Okay.
Do you like the original cut or the director's cut better? I'm on the fence. I'm in your absolute demographic. I watched this for the first time in college on DVD because my roommate had a DVD player. and it blew my mind. And then I saw the director's cut.
I kind of understood what the movie was in my own mind without needing to see the director's cut. At the same time, like my favorite is the Sundance cut of which is that's the movie that I loved, and that's none of those cuts. So we all have different things. I think like the director's cut gives you it hits it on the head a little bit more for people. At least at the ending, it's sort of like a more expanded exposit. What's the word I'm looking for? Exposition.
Exposition. Yeah, there you go.
A little bit more exposition going on in the ending of the director's cut, right? And if that's the director's cut, then that should be the cut. If that's what he wants,
That's what I always think too.
I mean, if I could put out a director's cut of Jack of All Trades, it would be 22 minutes longer. I'll tell you that much. I get it. It's like they want the movie to be 85 minutes, so something's got to go. And that's probably what happened to Richard Kelly as well. And he was fresh out of film school. And I can just look at this now with a different perspective. But, he probably, he was counting his blessings probably that he got his movie made. He's fresh out of film school. He can't really fight with them. If Drew Barrymore's company is telling you got to make these changes, the movie ended up becoming a huge cult classic and put him on the map. So it all worked out. And then
absolutely.
If you get to put out your director's cut, that means the movie did good.
Dude, have you kept up with Richard?
The last time I saw him would have been we did a Comic-Con panel together long time ago, like 100 years ago. So no, I have not kept up with him. I'd love to see him. Obviously, we have stories, but he's the king of Hollywood somewhere, right? He's got to be doing good. I haven't seen him, so I don't know.
He hasn't made a film in 10 years now.
Well, maybe he doesn't need to.
There you go.
I don't know. The box sort of left the audience very indecisive.
I feel like he could have made more movies, but also he doesn't have to. I mean, listen, some people just put out one really fucking great painting, and that's what they're known for. And there it is.
I love that. No, Kevin Smith had a quote from a few years ago where he said pretty much the same thing, that Kelly is the prominent director in our lifetime, but he did not get serviced into the studio grind the same way other people did. And as soon as he does, he will be a household name on the same level as Nolan, which I completely agree with.
Well, I'll say this. I think that in the same way that Quentin Tarantino came in the 90s and brought John Travolta and Bruce Willis and all these guys back, somebody who's like a huge Donnie Darko fan in power could like just give Richard Kelly like some money to do whatever the fuck he wants and see what he does with it. And I could see that happening. Why not? Some executive's going to be a huge Donnie Darko fan at some point, and they're going to want to see what he could do. So I would imagine that he could do whatever he wants. If he went into a studio to make a movie, I'm sure they would throw it at him at this point. Of course, I don't know. I haven't spoken to the guy, and I'm not his agent, so I don't know. Listen, he fucking made a classic, and that's it. What else? What do you need to follow that up?
No, but let's get off the Kelly boat. And what do you have in the pipeline for you outside of the horror movies that you already mentioned? Do you have some things that you're working on, that you're writing, that you're hoping to produce, that you're hoping to land directorially?
Yeah, well, we've got some movies in the pipeline. As I was alluding to earlier, so these horror movies. So we're now talking. So now in Canada, they've legalized marijuana. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but they did. And so now there's like a whole other kind of, we knew that was going to happen. So we've sort of been planning for that. And so our movies are sort of these, quote, stoner horrors by design. We're hoping to branch out into other areas and take advantage of the situation that's going on north of the border and be able to fund and make some cool movies. So we wrote, me and Adam, we have several scripts that we have written that we're getting ready to go on. One of them is a heist movie. It's sort of like, if I could best describe it, it's like Ocean's 11 if that happened in Fargo. It's sort of like
Ooh, that sounds fucking awesome.
It's this gang that wants to get together and pull off this crazy heist in a small town. They're going to rob the bingo hall. It doesn't go well. and it's like a it's like a stoner heist movie. So anyway,
I love it.
That's the movie I really want to get made. Obviously, we have a million other things. We're taking meetings all the time, and it's only getting crazier now. And we're only just getting started in the world of baseball and sports because we have some several other avenues to continue our path down, like the collectibles rabbit hole, because I'm interested in that. Trying to come up with different ways to tell a lot more stories that we didn't tell in the movie. I mean, I have so much footage that we didn't even use about baseballs. Obviously, there's people who are interested in the baseball cards. I could service that. I have content, and I'm happy to create more. We're exploring some of those avenues. And I have a kids show that I direct. By people wouldn't know that, but I used to produce for Chris Angel. He did like the Magic TV show that he had. I was the producer on the show. In Canada, me and my brother-in-law have a show on CBC here in Canada, which is the equivalent of CBS or NBC in America. And it's like these three little kids doing like Chris Angel type magic. And it's a kids show. And we got nominated for Best Kids Show at the some awards that we're going to next month. So, that's been going well. I mean, you can go on our website and check out. We're just doing all sorts of. It's exciting. It's an exciting time for us right now. And, we've been gearing up for it. We've been working our asses off, and, we're ready. We're ready to rock. We're ready for people who enjoy Jack of all trades that want to see what else is up. We're ready for you. Put it that way.
That's great. Now, one thing I did want to ask you, just as an actor, I'm sure you've auditioned for 1,000 roles. Is there anything that stands out as like, man, I thought I had this and I missed out. They gave it to somebody else and it just turned out to be this huge hit?
On your math there, then I would have been booking at like a 9% rate. 9% is pretty good. I audition for everything, man. You have no idea. Like, when I first went to LA, I was auditioning for stuff and didn't even know that you needed to have a green card or a visa or anything like that. And I would book jobs and couldn't do the jobs because I was Canadian. And I would book to be on an episode of Married with Children once.
Oh, awesome.
And I was devastated because I couldn't do it. But then I realized that I needed to go and get the proper shit. And so then when I went back the next time, I was auditioning for everything. But I definitely auditioned for Idle Hands. And there's so many times when Seth Green booked jobs that I auditioned for. And Idle Hands and Can't Hardly Wait are two of them.
Oh,
jeez.
Oh, I love both those movies.
He got the part in both of those movies. So God bless him. I also auditioned, believe it or not, this is insane, but to play Robert Van Wilder, like Kumar or whatever, Taj.
Yes.
So Taj, it was like Cal Penn obviously books the job, and I had no business even auditioning for it, but I made it to like the final callback somehow. It's like the most insane story, but I'm happy that I didn't book that. That would have been crazy, but he got that role. That is a true story.
Obviously, as an American, I have very little intelligence into Canada outside of what we read in the news. What about Degrassi?
Degrassi, I would have loved to have been on Degrassi, and I'm not throwing shade, but when I was a kid actor, I was union, and that was a non-union show, so I couldn't do Degrassi.
Interesting.
So, I wanted to do Degrassi because I loved it, but I'd be on it because it was a non-union show. So a lot of those kids, that was their first gig. And, Drake ended up coming out of Degrassi, so Degrassi's on the map. But
Sean Cameron comes out of Chicago, so props.
Is that he from Chicago?
Yeah.
You know who I'm boys with from Chicago? Colt Boom Boom Cabana?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So Colt's my boy. But Colt actually, it was his birthday, so I want to give him a happy birthday. But he got me into the wrestling world, and that's a whole other story. But I was like a bad guy manager and feuding with Colt Cabana. And I had a whole run with Colt Cabana and Adam Pearce. It was legendary. Both Chicago guys. Shout out to Chicago.
We love our wrestling in Chicago. That is for sure. Now, are you keeping up with the business, man? Are you excited about like AEW?
Of course, man. It's great. There's a lot of wrestling right now. there's a lot of wrestling right now. There's a lot, and there's a lot of great talent too. I think that what the Bucks and those guys have done, they know what they're doing. They did it organically. It's like goes back to what I was saying. Like all the real, true, great things happen organically. You can't force it. They built it organically, and there's a fan base already for a company that hasn't even run a show yet. Well, they've run a few shows, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I think there's a great groundswell of support for them, and I think it's great. And I hope those guys make a fortune. And the Bucks are geniuses. And I want to go play. I wish that they would fucking call me. I would love to go be a part of it. And WWE is never going to stop because that's the NFL. That's NBA. That's Major League Baseball. It's just like on. Like, yes, there are weeks where it's like really shitty baseball games, but you still watch it. So that's wrestling. If you are a lifelong wrestling fan, you will watch bad wrestling, good wrestling. You'll watch any wrestling. You'll just watch wrestling.
That's true. It's so true. Because, yeah, WWE has not, in my opinion, has not been very good lately, especially. So I've been kind of bored. I'm looking forward to AEW. I think it's real competition for the first time since 1999, 1998 with WCW. So I think that'd be fun.
I think they have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely exciting, and they're definitely going to make some noise, and they're definitely going to make money. And so why not have a place where like can make money? I think it's going to be great. I'm going to watch. I'll see what it's all about. I'm definitely going to check it out. I thought their last show was phenomenal. I'm excited for them. Like I said, I hope that they'll call me. I would love to go be a part of it.
I was going to say, why not bring in a great heel manager?
Good. Right now, man. Hit me up, Bucks. Let's do this.
There you go. I can't thank you enough for giving us some of your time and coming on the show. Again, guys, check out the documentary on iTunes right now, Jack of All Trades. If you're a kid of the 80s or 90s and you collected cards, this is for you. You need to see this documentary. Stu, plug your social media, man. Where can we follow you and your website so we can check out the film website as well?
Film has really, really great social media, and it is Jack of All Trades doc on Instagram and Baseball Card doc on Twitter.
Yep.
And then Facebook, Jack of All Trades the movie. It's all the same. So we are posting every day new content, new cards, and it's a lot of fun. And we've built a little community there. And even people who haven't seen the movie yet are still just enjoying looking at the cards every day. And we don't overpost, just once a day, so you don't have to worry about us clogging up your feed. But sometimes if you don't want to look at pictures of people's kids or people's lunches, you want to look at like a Greg Jeffries 1988 score rookie card. We've got you covered. We have that post. We did that one last week. Definitely check it out. And for you Cubs fans, we've got plenty of Cubs. There's lots of Rhino. There's lots of Hawk. There's lots of Gracie. And for you White Sox fans, we've got the Big Hurt, and we've got Slam and Sammy for both sides of south side and north side. And we've got you covered. We've actually just started posting other sports, so it's only a matter of time before the prestigious Michael Jordan rookie card will get posted. The greatest card of them all. True story. This would have been 1987 or 88. So my dad used to buy the closeouts. So he would go to the candy company and be like, "Oh, you still have last year's cards? I'll take them all off you for pennies on the dollar. I'll buy all of them." And then they'd sell it all to him. And so basketball in Toronto, there was no basketball. Right. We didn't have a team, right? Fleer had basketball cards and nobody bought them. So my dad bought the closeout, and we had in my garage, dude, it was overflowing with 86 Fleer basketball cards.
Holy
Michael
shit.
Rookie cards would be on the ground, getting kicked around, and with Roberto Clemente, glue on the back. You know what I'm saying?
It makes me a little sick even just thinking about it.
Just the amount of Michael Jordan rookies that were just disrespected by us as kids because basketball just wasn't flying. But I definitely have a Jordan rookie, so don't sleep on that. But I don't even know how we got into that conversation. But I was talking I was talking about my Instagram page. So we've got him, Walter Payton, Sweetness. I don't think there's a card of him that really comes from that era, but that's my Bears reference.
Yeah, no, the Walter Payton rookie card's pretty pricey. I think it's up like $600-700. Not quite Jordan, but
Here's some Walter Payton trivia for you. Donnie Darko Walter Payton trivia. So in the script for Donnie Darko, my character for Halloween, we were supposed to be like, it was generic. It was like clown and a princess and a whatever, you know?
yeah.
And I said, listen, man, if this is 1988, like, there's there's only two things that I would have been for Halloween. One of them is Sweetness or Hulk Hogan, one or the other. And they're like, okay, which one do you want to do? Go for it. And so we went back to the wardrobe trailer, and the first thing I see is this yellow tank top.
Yep.
So had I seen like a blue shirt, I may have been Sweetness instead. Hulk Hogan.
And all the rest is history.
It's all right.
And then
Gotta love the Hulkster, though.
Yeah, dude, are you kidding me? It's the best. Hulkamania in Donnie Darko, like you should know just now from talking to me for the last 6 hours that we've been on this, that like I love wrestling and for me to be as Hulk Hogan in Donnie Darko is just totally the most me thing that could have happened.
That's so cool.
And you kicked ass at it.
Yeah, man.
It was so perfect.
Brother.
Well, again, man, thanks for coming on the show. Again, we're gonna plug away the Jack of all trades on our social media and help you guys out as much as we can. So
appreciate it. And if you ever want to just talk regular movies, I'm around, and it was great.
Yeah,
you guys, I'm down to talk just like Back to the Future 2 or something like that, or Young Guns 2 or Mighty Ducks 2 or any 2s. You love
anything 2. Free Willy 2? No, we'll pass on.
You know, one of the best sequels is European Vacation, but it's not. There's no 2 in the title, but it is a sequel, right?
It's underrated, man.
Stu Stone on social media. Jack of all trades is the movie. iTunes is the preferred destination. Anywhere where you guys could leave reviews or rate the movie. You don't understand how much that helps movies like us, because it all helps. So any help is help. Spread the word and help. Jack of all trades, Stu Stone, and that's pretty much it.
There you go. You guys heard it. We're out.
And now about to witness the strength of Bob Saget.
We have just wrapped up the interview with Stu Stone. Again, thank you, Stu, for coming on the show. You guys can stream and watch Jack of all trades right now. Just find them on Twitter. There's a link right to the website, and you can pretty much stream that thing on any device. And we want to thank you guys for hitting the download button on today's podcast. You can subscribe for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and YouTube. As always, we're on social media at backintimepod. I'm at kautry29. JD's at unjustjustin. The blog is at backintimepod.com. And we want to thank you guys for joining us. We'll be back with a new episode next week. See ya!
In a car getting sweater.